beginning transmission of Music Bizz Radio. Thank you for listening. Here is your host, David Richards.
Hello and welcome to Music Bizz Radio. I'm your host, David Richards. We have another exciting show for you today with an incredible list of guests that include trumpet and music great Arturo Sandoval. We'll be doing a review on the Royer R121 and hear from co-owner and co-founder John Jennings of Royer Labs. Our CD release featured artist this week is David Gibson. He'll be on talking about his new CD, Boom, which you'll also be hearing throughout the show. We'll also have our Facebook Follies and a very, very special In the Shed. Before we get started on today's show, I'd like to remind you to please go to our Facebook page and give us a like. It's facebook.com/Music Bizz Radio. We also have a new feature on the show where you can leave voice feedback that may actually be used on the show by calling 646-470-7794. You can always email us at trumpetdr@gmail.com. And now on Music Bizz Radio, we have a very special guest. We're very excited to have him and honored, of course. He is a 10-time Grammy Award winner, nominated 17 times, 6 Billboard Awards, and an Emmy. Recent recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom and a fantastic musician and contributor to the music community. It's Arturo Sandoval. Hello, Arturo. How are you?
Hello, David. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's so good to hear you.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity to be in your program.
Well, it's very nice to talk to you, and my experiences, I've been lucky enough to be around you and spend some time with you on a one-on-one basis, and very inspirational to me as a musician, and certainly everyone I know that knows you has that same feeling. So
beautiful.
It's fantastic what you do. So, yeah, so I guess, most people in the music business are very familiar with your work. I guess one of the first things that I wanted to talk about when I was a younger man in the year 2000, there was a movie about your life. And For Love or Country, starring Andy Garcia as Arturo Sandoval. Tell me about that.
We're not prepared to see our life in the big screen, And it's a privilege, it's an honor that HBO decided to share my part of my life with the people, and it's a good testimony, and it's good to share with our next generation to come, my grandchildren. They're gonna have an idea how we get in the country, how much we're struggling, for years in Cuba and the whole thing, And the movie, to be honest, I never participated in anything that has such an unanimous reception. The people really love the movie. I never see so many wonderful reviews on anything I ever did. And I never see a so-so review. All of them are very, very wonderful. And the people really got a wonderful praise for the movie and the whole effort, And everybody who was involved in the movie was extremely motivated, and they did a wonderful, wonderful job, And I am very happy because I won my Emmy with the score.
Yes, and if you haven't seen it, you can actually see it. It's out there still. I'm sure it's online, and you can still rent it. And it's a great movie. But yeah, the music was fantastic, and you had everything to do with the music in the film. Yes.
Oh, I think so. Actually, we did a record, the whole record, before they start shooting the movie. We did a couple of things because later on there was another record, which is the soundtrack of the movie. The music I wrote after the movie was done. But it was a previous CD we did before they start shooting, with all the tracks they need to shoot over that, and that was a lot of fun. It was intense work, massive work, but that was worthy because the people really enjoyed the movie very much.
And this this was actually 15 years ago. So you've had quite a few amazing things happen in the last 15 years. So I guess it wouldn't even be considered a biopic. It basically was talking about early in your life and your experience in Cuba and how your career got started.
Oh yeah, I work every day. I never stop. I started to play gigs in 1961 when I was 11 years old, and I never stopped. That means I'm playing music for 54 years.
And so what was it like to have Andy Garcia playing you?
I'm gonna tell you, he's an excellent actor, and also he's very musical because he's a percussionist himself, and he's very active playing percussion with his own band, and then he played with my big band over here in Los Angeles, and he's very musical. He loves music. Besides that, he did a wonderful job, trumpet playing. I think everybody really, a lot of people ask me, if he really played the trumpet. I say, no, he don't play the trumpet. But he faked it so well, he did a wonderful job. He's a wonderful actor and a wonderful human being.
Yes, and very enjoyable. Again, that's For Love or Country and definitely worth watching. I guess they could have made another movie with all the things that have been happening. Recently, you've had the
I don't know about that. I think one is in the lifetime. I think that's going to be enough.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be another one someday down the road with all the things
Who
that
knows?
have happened.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, and so you recently have been honored with something amazing, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. How was that experience? That must have been incredible.
It's a huge honor because it's the highest award that any civilian could receive, from the U.S. government. And it's such a privilege and a big honor for me. And I really was so happy. And I was with a great company, too, because with Oprah Winfrey and Bill Clinton and Ernie Banks and a bunch of great people really have been making a big contribution and something very remarkable in their life, and be in such a company is a huge privilege.
And you got to meet the president.
Oh yeah, no, I met him before, and I met every president since I get in the country.
Wow.
The first one was Bush Sr., and then Clinton, and then W. Bush, and then Obama. Yeah. I met all of them since I played there a few times,
So that's a pretty good gig then.
Oh yes, it's wonderful to be in the White House, and it's something really made you feel big emotion, and it's such an honor.
As far as people don't understand or may not know about you as a musician, is not only are you a virtuoso, fantastic trumpet player, considered by many to be one of the best trumpet players ever, which I'm one of the ingredients with that. You're a fantastic piano player, arranger, and you've done quite a bit of classical music as well as jazz. I
think the most important thing that I have been doing and I will do in my life is composition kind of thing. Because that's the most important thing. That's your legacy. That's what is going to be there after you're gone. And unfortunately, most of the time, the people not even mention that part of what I do, But for me, it's the number one in the list of sins I could do.
And so you've done quite a bit of writing for film and television as well.
I got 40-something records, and I got recorded. I mean, on record, I have more than 120-something original composition, and I have been writing music for many years. Besides that, yes, I have been writing a few scores for a few movies. Unfortunately, all of them has been kind of a very low budget movies that didn't have the big kind of exposure, and advertising, all those kind of things. But I enjoy equally. I enjoy a lot that kind of thing. I mean, writing score for movies is one of my biggest passion, and I really have a great time every time I have an opportunity to do it.
And you have quite the studio, I'm sure. You're, we actually have a nice conversation that we're going to be having with John Jennings, Royer, and he's going to be talking about microphones. So, you obviously have some great equipment. And one thing that I've noticed about you, and obviously spending time with you, is you're very in touch with modern technology. You're very in touch with social media.
What? I love to be in touch with friends and fans and people who love music. And I enjoy Twitter and Facebook and everything, I really, I consider that like a kind of a company to me, because especially when I'm on the road, and get back from the gig and I'm in the hotel by myself, it's a kind of a special moment when you have a friend to talk about, or people who really listen to what you did that night, whatever. It's extremely important to me, and I enjoy that immensely.
Yeah, and I have a photo of you and myself that was taken where you're showing me something on your phone, and I remember the enthusiasm that you had. I think you were showing me an app or something. So, I thought that was great. So, but you're involved in quite a few other things. Obviously, you're practicing every day. Your practice habits are pretty unmatched.
Oh yeah, you know what? I have no choice. Especially with the trumpet, or you take care of trumpet, or the trumpet don't gonna respond to you at all. And as a trumpet player, you know that very well yourself, and
yes,
it's very demanding instrument, but it's very rewarding in the end when you really take care of that and you practice, with a lot of discipline and commitment and a passion. You notice that when you go to stage, you have the skill and sense to express your feelings and to share your emotion and sense with the people through your instrument. And that's the only way you could do such a sense, is you really take care of business properly.
Absolutely. So I'm sure are there days that you ever wake up and you look at the trumpet and you just feel like saying, not today, but you do it anyway?
Yeah, as I told you before, it's no choice. or you do it, or somebody else will do it, And
that's right.
But I'm extremely lucky, because I still have the passion and the desire to do it every day. And I feel bad when I don't practice, because I pay the consequence when I go to a stage and I don't feel 100% prepared. I don't feel the same, and then I cannot play in the way, because it's two ways to play the trumpet, in the way you can and in the way you want. I really prefer to be in the second group, and that's my commitment for so many years. Try to play on the trumpet what I want, not be limited to something, to only play what I can.
It definitely comes out in your playing. I mean, there's so many recordings and videos of you playing all these concerts, and you just seem to be right on the mark in all of them. Is there ever a point where, do you feel nervous out there ever when you're in a big performance?
Oh yeah, you have to. It's one thing is to feel that butterfly in your stomach, which is normal, it's okay. But the best things against that is to feel confident that you did your homework properly, practicing and warming up to be ready for your job. Because that gives you the confidence, and that may you get through that butterfly in a better way.
Right. And I just, the practicing is definitely a thing. Being a professional trumpet player is, and as you said, it's a very demanding instrument.
It is.
And when I tell younger players, I say, listen, this is a commitment. And I actually have taken your advice, and you've told me this before. I said, if you don't give to this horn, it's going to punish you. It's not going to reward you. It rewards you for what you put into it. It's a tough one.
Yeah, the trumpet is merciless.
Yes, absolutely. So you're doing quite a few really cool and interesting things. Actually, recently you were in quite a performance. A very good friend of mine, Ryan Anthony, in Dallas, had a large fundraising concert, and
Oh, that was a beautiful experience, man. Wow, that was, I don't know how many trumpet players, but a lot of great one. And it was a beautiful experience. Yeah, Ryan, is a wonderful guy, and he did a great job for the cancer, benefit. And I was so happy and proud to be part of that concert, and came out beautiful, beautiful.
and I don't know if you know this, but Ryan Anthony and I were in marching band in high school together.
Wow.
We were in marching band, and we started a brass quintet group that went on to stay together for 10 years. So,
Beautiful, man. Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah,
beautiful.
he's a really good guy. Actually, we're probably going to have him on the show at some point. And
Beautiful,
but
beautiful.
yes,
beautiful.
so that was a great thing. And aside from that, you're actually doing something very incredible. The ASI, the Arturo Sandoval Institute. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm gonna tell you, David, that's probably the best things I ever done in my life. It's I'm so happy and excited about it, and it's a big honor, to be able to help kids in need. Because I remember when I was a boy, man, and I wish I could have any help, and I every time we have an opportunity to help a kid with a scholarship, with a brand new instrument, with a private lesson, with health insurance. We have been helping a few kids with health insurance, and we donate a lot of instrument and time and effort, and even concerts and a lot of things, just to help kids that really want to continue studying music.
Would you say some of your inspiration, as a child in Cuba, what was your access to a trumpet as a child?
Oh my goodness. My aunt bought me a cornet, when I was a kid, and I not even remember where it was made, but it was a kind of a horrible instrument, and I never have a teacher, and I was trying to figure it out all my life, and still trying to figure it out how to discover all the secrets of the trumpet.
Recently, there was a story of a young lady that I think had lost her trumpet, and you sent her a trumpet.
Yeah, we did that a few times. Not only that one. That one in particular, he left the horn, which is a terrible mistake. We see that on the internet almost every day. The people who left instrument in the trunk or in the car, and that's a terrible mistake. And I really, that, as I say, and even in the internet, I said that never ever gonna happen to me, because I never left my horn in any car, not even inside my garage with alarm or something. I never left my horn there. If I go to anywhere and I go to a restaurant or something, and the people said, it's safe here, you can leave in the trunk. I said, excuse me, can you open the trunk? Let me get my horn with me. My horn always is with me. And now we're talking, and I look into my horn here in my room. And when you really love your instrument, you don't leave it in the trunk. Nowhere. No way. Anywhere. Doesn't matter. You promise me that it's the safest place on earth. I don't gonna left my horn unattended.
Well, in New York, that's easy because usually you just walk around with it on your shoulder anyway. So, but so you're living in Los Angeles at this point, right?
Yes, that's correct. I live in Tarzana, which is a very, very nice, it's a small city, but it's very nice. It's only residence. It's not a business or anything or a big building or whatever. It's just residence. It's very, very quiet. It's just a wonderful place. Even sometimes I do recording here and I forget to close the window. It's so quiet outside that we never have any problem.
Aside from being home and working at home, you're on the road. How much would you say you're on the road?
Oh my goodness. As many days as they want me to be on the road. You know, I'm gonna tell you something. When I'm on the, I used to do long tours when I was young. Sometimes 3, 4 months, even 4 months on the road in Europe and something without come back home. I don't do that anymore. I cannot do that anymore. The max time I do now is just a week, 7 days. After that, my manager know he cannot book me straight for more than 7 days. But 7 days is a limit for me. You know, after that, I must come back home and stay a few days at home, and then I go back again through till 3 or 4 days or 5 or 6, whatever. But that's what I has been doing for a few years. You know, just short tour and come back, and short tour and come back.
Yes, that's and practice. Come back and practice.
Practice, yeah. Unfortunately, you cannot come back home and say, okay, I'm going to take it easy, I'm going to relax, I'm going to have fun with my family and grandchildren. Always we have to put aside some time to keep practicing.
And speaking of practice, you've actually come up with a device to help for practicing, and it's the Sandovalves.
Sandovals, yes. I really has been using that for years, and finally we're making a production, you know, to share that with the people and to give them the opportunity to have this kind of device, which is so small, very light, very, you know, you can use that anywhere, anytime. I use it a lot to warm up and to practice too. And when I in a long flight, I use it in the plane, and the people are sleeping beside me, and I don't bother no one. And sometimes I go to a movie theater, and I spend a couple of hours, you know, trying my thing and working on my finger, things like that, you know. And that really helped me a lot, because especially when you got certain age like me, and your fingers start to get a little slower, you know, and you have to really take an extra care to that if you want to keep moving your fingers in the way you want.
And what it is, so it's basically a valve casing, and you've got a lead pipe, you put a mouthpiece in, you can buzz, and you can do fingerings.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. It's very simple. Actually, have a little stand on the middle of the lead pipe. That little device, you can adjust the resistance of your blowing, you know, or your buzzing or your playing, and that helped to create a kind of the same feeling as close as possible to the horn.
And I got to tell you, like for me, I've taken your advice and worked on my fingering, and I've seen some of your fingering exercises and the things you do. And it doesn't just keep your fingers in shape and give you agility. I think it actually opens up your vocabulary as a soloist.
Yes, if you got the imagination to sing along or to think about the phrases and passages that you can just imagine what you're playing, of course, that help you a lot to create that kind of coordination from your brain from your ideas into your execution, you know. And that really helped me a lot.
Yeah, and that has really helped me a ton, and I really took that inspiration from you. I wasn't sure at first. I was like, well, okay, I just want to get faster, but then I really started to realize that it just opened things up for me.
Do you own the Sandovals? Do you have one?
I do not, but I do.
What are you waiting for?
I need to get one. I do the exercises. I do the exercises on the horn quite a bit, and then I've integrated a lot of those exercises into my warm-ups.
That's great.
So, yeah, and I really enjoy it. But Yeah. So actually, you can get that, the Sandoval, on sandovalves.com. And you have a website there where you can get that. Well, Arturo, I really want to thank you. You have been a fantastic guest. I could have you on many times and still get new and great information. For those that don't know about Arturo, you should. If you're a musician, if you're a trumpet player, you should definitely be aware. Fantastic technical player and jazz musician and classical player. You can check him out on ArturoSandoval.com. And you can get all his latest tour dates and see where he's going to be. But he will only be 7 days a week. Only for 7 days.
That's it.
That's it. And so you better catch him in that week. Arturo has a wonderful thing going for music and for students and for music education in Arturo Sandoval Institute, ASI. And you can see that at arturosandovalinstitute.org. Okay, Arturo, thank you so much. I really
thank you.
Honored to have you on the show, and you've been an inspiration, and it's been good to know you for the last couple years, and I hope to see you and talk to you again.
Okay, man. Thank you so much, David. Thank you.
Thank you, Arturo. Okay, we will be right back right after this.
Hi, this is Tom Bones Malone, and you're listening to Music Biz Radio with David Richards.
It is now time for product reviews. Please stand by for another review in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, and welcome back to Music Biz Radio. I'm your host, David Richards. We're now going to talk a little bit about the Royer R121 in our product review on Music Biz Radio this week. I just have to say, I just really enjoy this microphone. I've used many, many mics at many sessions, and this is a great studio mic. It actually can be used for live use as well. Arturo actually does use that mic in live performances, and it really sounds great, which a lot of times, you're recording a live performance, and it's a great way to capture the true sounds of what your horn is trying to put out there. And the thing that I really love about this is when I'm doing a session, I can put the headphones on both ears and I hear a nice transparent sound from the mic. It really captures, if I'm trying to do subtle tones, it captures that. If I'm doing high brassy, bright sound, it captures that equally well. So, as a trumpet player, great mic. I know it's also used on guitar cabinets and many other applications as a room mic for drums and all kinds of things. So it's a really great mic, and I really enjoy it. All right, we actually have John Jennings on the line from Royer Labs. He's going to talk to us a little bit about the Royer microphones and the R121. Hi, John.
Hey, David, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for being on the show today.
Sure, you bet. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. So it seems like the people have spoken and they love the Royer microphones.
Thank you. We've, when we first got started in 1998, that was 17 years ago. It seems even longer sometimes. But when we first got started, really nobody knew anything about ribbons at that point, besides a few, sort of high-end engineers who would never let them go, like Bruce Vadine and Al Schmidt and folks. And it's been great to bring ribbons to back into mainstream recording, and then watch how it exploded once people really caught on to what it is ribbons actually do.
Right, and most people, a lot of people know what it does do. Can you explain a little bit about ribbon technology?
Oh yeah, so ribbons. Here's what they do that really sets them apart from other microphones. Ribbons hear sounds more like the human ear does than any other kind of microphone. They hear them. Without exaggerating the high end. I mean, the way condenser capsules are built, they have a natural boost in the high frequencies, and we've gotten used to that hyped high end, but that doesn't always sound good. It doesn't sound good on a violin where the rosin becomes accentuated. It doesn't sound good on a trumpet where it gets shrill, whereas there's so much body and beauty in the tone of a trumpet, but you end up getting sort of a shrill sound. There are a number of instruments that it's great to have condensers on, and that extra brightness, helps an acoustic guitar jump out, or a vocal, or a piece of percussion that you want to have brighter. But when you're looking to record something the way it sounds at the source, a good ribbon, a high-quality ribbon, will really get you there, and it's an amazing experience to put it up and hear that, hear a playback that sounds so much like the what you were playing. You know, it's been said that good ribbons practically capture the intention of the musician.
Yeah, and for me as a studio player, when I play with the headphones and I hear it, it just feels transparent to me. I don't feel like the microphone is actually creating like an artificial sound to me. It's really capturing everything pure and very clear and full.
Thanks. That's what they do. Good ribbons capture things the way they sound in the room. And when you're looking for that sound, you know, like a great trumpet or a trombone or an electric guitar that sounds very powerful in the room, or, you know, a sweet violin or a jazz or classical singer or something, if you're really trying to capture what you're hearing in the room, you put up a good ribbon and it'll really get you there.
Ribbon technology has been around for a long time, and in fact, many old recordings were used with the ribbon mics. They couldn't capture it as well with the recording equipment in the early days, but obviously as we got into the 50s and 60s, that technology improved, and you have some of those big ribbons, and then that kind of fell off.
Right. What happened was, one, they were very large, bulky, fragile devices, and they really did sound good. But in that day, we were working with tape, and very early days of tape, and broadcast ruled back then. It wasn't recording nearly as much as television that sort of determined what happened with gear. So, as television and radio. So, when condensers came in with that additional brightness, they really helped cut through what was a more dull medium back in that day. And the balance of condenser mics and tape is a pretty nice thing. I mean, engineers who worked with tape used to hit the tape with more high-end energy than they really wanted to hear in the end, because the tape was going to lose some of that and sort of naturally compress the tone. But in a digital age, and especially with the better converters we have these days, what you get from the microphone is what you end up with on your playback. And the crispy highs that we got used to in our condenser mics on a number of instruments just don't sound as good in a digital environment. It sounds kind of harsh and hard on the ears, and you pull up faders and go, man, I've got to master this and kill some highs here. And those highs come at the cost of some of the mid-range and low-end response. So when you put up a good ribbon, you just get a very well-balanced, unhyped sound with all the power and realism that's contained in the mid-range, whereas a lot of the music here really lives.
Right. So, being a trumpet player, it's a very difficult thing to find a mic that can handle the nuances and sometimes the power of a trumpet. So can you explain how the ribbon is allowing us to do that?
Sure. I mean, a lot of ribbons can't handle a close mic'd trumpet. There's a lot of power coming out, and you can stretch a ribbon, particularly if you get very close and you've got some wind coming out of the instrument. Although there's really not enough direct air coming out of a trumpet to blow most ribbons. Right. But what we did at Royer was, the old corrugation method of RCA and all the other ribbons that are out there give you sort of a wavy corrugated ribbon. A ribbon is a strip of aluminum, very thin. It's about 2 microns to 2.5 microns thick, which, to give you an idea of how thin that is, you would have to stack 60 or 70 of those up to get to the width of an average human hair. So this is very thin aluminum material, and you put it in, you corrugate it to let it have some movement, kind of like a slinky. Moves around as sound waves hit it. But those corrugations can stretch out fairly easily. What we did at Royer is we developed these direct corrugation machines that allowed us to put very tight multiple corrugations into the microphones. And that allows for a lot more flexibility. And we didn't know quite to the extent of that when we first developed the 121, but it turns out you can, close mic, very loud electric guitar cabinets and brass instruments. I mean, Arturo Sandoval is a brilliant musician with tons of power, and he's been using 122s for years, and I don't think he's ever blown one, even really getting close and digging in on them. The ribbon was designed to take that kind of use, that kind of abuse, I say.
can you tell me a little bit about the history of Royer? And I know you still have the original microphone.
Sure. Yeah, Dave Royer and I had a company in '96 that didn't work out, but at that point, we were making condenser mics. His condenser designs are brilliant. We have another company called Mojave Audio, and the microphones are wonderful. So we were making his condenser designs and mic pre's and compressors, but it was our first company together. You have to get your mistakes out of the way, and we made a few of them. But we met Rick Parada, who is the president now of Royer Labs, and dug into the business with him and a fellow named Rafael Villafane, and did a much better job with the second company. And Dave's ribbon designs, I remember when he showed up with that first R121, we're looking at it going, what is this thing? Very odd-looking, tubular-looking microphone with two ears sticking out the side. And he said it was his first real crack at a ribbon design, and told us why he designed it the way he did. And then we started bringing it around town to different engineers asking for their feedback on it. And we received good feedback from some really wonderful guys who had some thoughts on it. But overall, we determined pretty quickly we had a winner and decided to open Royer to bring Dave's ribbon microphone designs to the world. Now, my background was as a session guitarist, and I used to love standing in front of the amp and, hearing all that tone that is developed from a good guitar and a good amplifier, and hitting it the way you want to hit the guitar. But going into the control room was always disappointing because the tone that I was hearing in the playback was so much different from what I heard at the amplifier. So when I discovered that ribbon microphones give you such a natural pickup, and then had a chance to hear Dave's design on an electric guitar, it just changed my life. It was an amazing thing to realize, wow, there is an answer to this tone problem so many people have. So many of us work hard on our playing, and then we get the best equipment, and we develop some really special tone, very unique, and then to record it, it's oftentimes comes out sounding so different. But with a good ribbon mic, you can play. You can give it everything you've got and go back into the control room and hear that sound coming back to you. Right. And that's been a wonderful thing to bring out to the world. Dave's designs. I've sat in with concert harp players and pipe organ players and many session guitarists and famous guitarists. Listening for the first time and looking at the look on their face, it's pretty phenomenal to see a musician go, whoa, I'm getting that sound finally. And Arturo was one of them. I remember when the 122s were first put up on him, he was doing a record called Trumpet Evolution, just a wonderful record with Quincy Jones executive producing, and a trumpet player in Los Angeles, Gary Grant, wonderful guy, yes, was all over this record, arranging the players, and he got with Al Schmidt, and the two of them decided to use a ton of ribbons on that record. And the listening to that brass section and all that power, these are some of the top players in L.A., really ripping. And you hear that brass section the way it sounded in the room. It was wonderful. And then Arturo, playing on a ribbon himself for the first time, he was just delighted.
Well, and what you say, as a brass player, obviously, for me anyway, tone is like the number one important thing that I try to get out of my instrument. And a lot of people don't realize that the battle that guitar players constantly go through is getting their signature sound, as you said, and getting that tone. And I think it's just real clear that this microphone is just really good at letting us hear what we want to hear, the natural sound of what we tried to create.
Yes. If you've seen Royer ads throughout the years, you'll notice a lot of times a tagline in the bottom that says, "Here's like your ears." Ah, great. That's what we mean. Here's your instrument the way your ears hear it.
So you still have the original first mic, you were saying?
I do. It's in my desk drawer. I take it out every once in a while and look at it and go, well.
There it is.
Interesting thing, yeah.
That's what started all the fun.
Yes, it did. It did. The first person that went to was an engineer named Joe Barisi, who put this unknown microphone up on an unknown band, and that mic became the 121, and the band became Queens of the Stone Age. Go back and just listen to some of those original recordings.
Well, tell us a little bit about the 121.
Well, the 121 is it's a ribbon mic, fairly lightweight, at 8-9 ounces, and it's about 8 inches high and 1 inch diameter. Very light ribbon, but very strong. You can put it up on, like I said, smoking hot guitar cabinets. I mean, Joe Perry used it on the Aerosmith record, Just Push Play, and then started using them live, and he's taken 6 of them on the road live since that point. So that's been, 12 years ago now? And he did blow one ribbon in that time, but that was a microphone that was knocked off a microphone stand. In terms of the volume level of his amps, which are excruciatingly loud, that's not been a problem for the mics.
Well, you can't trust those rockers with a good mic, man. They'll trash it every time.
Actually, it's funny. Some of the rockers take the best care of them.
Absolutely.
They'll put them up and they'll rock down hard, but then they're very careful with those mics afterward. They understand the value.
Oh yeah.
Yep. The thing about a ribbon too is, they're fairly simple microphones. They have to be well designed and well built, but once they're put together, pretty much the only problem you're ever going to have with them is stretching a ribbon. And if you use them properly, you won't do that.
Right.
Improper usage would be, getting a lot of air into it or putting it on too large a speaker with too much low end, where you're literally, you can blow out a birthday cake with the wind coming.
Right.
Then you're gonna blow that ribbon over time. But putting a ribbon, re-ribboning a microphone is not that expensive, and you get it back to brand new spec that easily. So a 121 that was sold in 1998 could come in and be re-ribboned today, and tomorrow we'll measure it, and it'll be exactly the same as the day it was built. Its performance spec. One of the wonderful things about ribbons, they're very simple to take care of once they're properly designed and built.
And they come in a beautiful wooden case.
Yeah, you like that case, don't you?
I do. I really do. Most people that I know that own the mic, really, the first thing they do is they show you the case. They go, "Look at this. This is a great mic." Well, yeah. Do you mind opening the case so I can actually see it?
Right.
They fall in love with the case, but that's good. We are speaking to John Jennings, one of the owners and founders of Royer Labs. He's talking to us about ribbon mic technology and the R121. So you can also check out more about the mics and the technology at royerlabs.com. And on your website, you have some videos.
Yeah, there's a section on our website which you can get to from the home page. Our website address is royerlabs.com.
Yes.
And you'll see a number of different things up there. You'll see if you'd like to see our the Grammy acceptance speeches, we were given a technical Grammy for bringing ribbon microphones back to the recording industry. We got that in 2013, which was an extraordinary event. We really enjoyed that.
Very cool. Yes.
Yeah, and you'll see our acceptance speeches there, and Dave Royer in full regalia. That was great. But you'll also see an audio-video library, and if you'll go to that and use the search function there, you can search for anything. If you're a brass player, you type in brass, or you type in trumpet or trombone or whatever it is you're interested in, and then you can find the tracks with the material that you're interested in looking for. So in the case of brass, let's say you type in brass, and you'll come up, I think the first thing is Arturo Sandoval in a studio playing to some backing tracks, playing to a big band record that he had recorded. He removed his trumpet tracks, and then for demonstration for us, he recorded using his 122, which is the phantom-powered ribbon microphone. And then after that, you see him playing some piano, and he is equally brilliant on the piano.
Yes.
It's just phenomenal what a well-rounded musician he is. So, and then you'll see some Gordon Goodwin and some Quincy Jones and a number of different tracks. In some cases, you have videos. You can see exactly how it's laid down. In some cases, you have, say, a full mix, like with Gordon Goodwin, who just won a Grammy last year for his wonderful record. You'll hear a full mix of some big band and trumpet solos and so forth, and then you'll hear the isolated tracks where you can just hear the ribbons themselves to get an idea of what they sound like, just flat and before they're added to the mix. So it's a pretty educational part of the website. There are literally hundreds of tracks, quite a few different videos, and you can go in and listen to anything you like. If you're an electric guitarist, you type in electric guitar, and there's, got to be 50, 60 different tracks in there, from, as diverse as Slash and Brian Setzer down to, some really nice jazz tracks that Al Schmidt recorded with Diana Krall, some interesting stuff. There's a lot of different material there to learn about ribbon microphones with, and I would urge any listeners who are interested in knowing what ribbons can do to go into the library and just spend a little time there. Snoop around, look for the things you're interested in, check out piano, check out brass, check out guitars, check out violin, and you'll find a number of different recordings of each of the different instruments to let you hear what ribbons actually do.
And I'm sure as a stereo pair, they're just heaven.
Yeah, stereo pair is the way to go. And there is a stereo ribbon microphone. We have
oh, wow.
The SF-12 is a stereo ribbon. If you go to Arturo Sandoval's track in our library, Mantica, yes, you'll hear the SF-12 as a room mic, you'll hear it as a drum overhead mic, and you'll see it in a number of other of our videos, and hear it in different tracks too. And then there's the SF-24, which is the phantom powered version of that.
That's it's a very spoiled person being able to use one as a room mic, one as a close mic.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I think the mic's great, and I'm not just saying that. I've played them all.
Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Again, I'd like to thank you. So, John Jennings, one of the owners and founders of Royer Labs. We really enjoyed talking about it. The information's great. Again, we urge you to go to royerlabs.com, and there's all kinds of videos and good information, and any good engineer or musician that does his proper research, they've put all the tools out there for you. So definitely use that. John, thanks again so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, we'll be right back right after this.
Arturo Sandoval is considered by most one of the best trumpet players alive today. In this week's In the Shed, he will give you a tip that is sure to improve your playing. If you are serious about your craft, you may want to heed his expert advice. Maestro.
Hello, this is Arturo Sandoval in the Shed. I'm happy to share with you my way of thinking in terms of practicing. I think the first thing we must do is warm up very properly, very easy in the very beginning, and do long tones, and then go into the books. I highly recommend to use the books when you practice. I am not a big fan. I'm not a fan at all of practicing by ear, And some people spend a lot of time noodling and improvising and doing this and that. I spend most of my time with the books, because that gives you the skill to do anything you want to do later on. And I use all the regular books that everybody knows: the Urban, Collins, Clark, Caruso, Claude Gordon, all those books, and I spend time with that, and I trying to cover all the aspects that we need to cover to be prepared. Single tonguing, double tonguing, triple tonguing, flexibility, all kind of scale, all kind of flexibilities, and we have to. Our goal is to be prepared, to be ready, and we have to be conscious that don't spend too much time with something that you like the most, and we have to distribute our time in equal amount of time for all the aspects. That's my recommendation. And practice with passion, and furthermore, instead of practice, perform more than practicing. Always play your best and play with passion, with love for music, and be grateful always that you have time to practice. Be very grateful, because you could be doing something else, and it's good to have time and the opportunity to practice for our own benefit. and be grateful and be happy, because be in a good mood give you a better result in your practicing.
Hello and welcome back to Music Biz Radio. I am your host, David Richards, and throughout the show today, we have been listening to our featured CD release artist, David Gibson. And right now, we have David Gibson. How are you, David?
I'm doing great, David. Thanks for asking.
David,
thanks for having me.
You have a great name, David. I love your name.
Yeah, I can see that.
So we've really enjoyed your music today. CD's fantastic. Really a lot of good stuff. Tell me a little bit about the record. The album is called Boom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This group of musicians is a group of people that I kind of started socializing with in musical settings, and I would go and I would hear them play with other people, and just naturally thought, I'd like to write some music for these people. And so when we started playing together, maybe a couple of years ago, it evolved over a period of time to be what it is. But these guys, we've kind of been in the trenches together, playing in basement clubs and hanging at the bar afterwards. So I knew how to write music for them, and I understood from our conversations how they were going to react to the music, and so yeah, that's what happened. And over the course of those 2 years, I started writing new material, and then Positone had a recording date available, and asked if we'd want to go in the studio, and I'm really glad we did. The last tune that I wrote for the recording was actually a request from Mark Free, who's the producer. And I think because my previous records had been organ records, I kind of always think of the organ sound with something funky attached. And so the previous two records both had something a little funkier. And he asked, "Can you do something like that?" And I said, "Okay." And I think I had recently seen a YouTube video of this young college sportscaster, and if you look it up, the video it's called "Boom Goes the Dynamite," and so it's been kind of like a comical little phrase that we use at home. So when I wrote the tune the day before the session, I just called it Boom. That was like a sketch name, and they were like, "We love it." So, okay, all right. Well, could we call the record? No, we're calling the record Boom.
So the official name, the official name of the record is Boom! Exclamation point.
Yeah, Boom! Exclamation point. That's exactly right.
You have to make sure you put that in there.
Hey, I'm from Oklahoma. That's exactly right. Because when you talk about the song Oklahoma or the musical Oklahoma, it also has the exclamation point.
That's true. That's true. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, well, I'm from Oklahoma.
Well, of course you know that, yes.
Yeah.
And that, of course, everybody was rushing up there to get land up there. That was the whole thing about Oklahoma. Yep.
Indeed.
Running away from Texas to go to Oklahoma, mostly.
Well, yeah, I don't know which way they were running, but they were definitely running.
You weren't there, were you?
It's been a while, yeah. I don't think I was
no.
even a glimmer.
So, well, the record's great. We really enjoyed it. And what do you have? Is there a place that you can get the record?
Yeah, well, I think it's for sale on iTunes and also Amazon and any place that you might try and buy a record these days. I don't know many people buy them, but yes, I mean, I'm sure you could stream it too if you wanted to do that. But my website is jazzbone.org. It's JAZZBONE.org. Yeah, there's links there to get the record and other stuff. There's a little mailing list. You can find out what's going on. Every once in a while I send out a couple of videos or some pictures, interesting stuff.
Well, so this record is a small group album, or fairly small, and you are pretty deep in the scene. You do a lot of big band work in the city.
Yeah, well, you know, I was always interested in writing. When I was in high school, I made my first attempt. I think I was in 9th grade, and I had a little dual cassette deck. And I started doing multi-track recordings and writing trombone quartets over, you know, tunes that I could play along with an Ebersol. And so I would write, just had arrangements of, you know, But Beautiful, and I started messing around with different techniques that I had heard used, and I had no idea what I was doing. And then I decided I was going to write a big band chart on Work Song, and I remember I think my dad had this old dot matrix printer, and I figured out a way to write a program for staff paper. And so I printed out all this staff paper and score paper, you know, the kind where you had to like rip the holes off the side, you know. I mean, God, I wonder if I have that somewhere. Anyway.
Your age is coming out, and I was doing the exact same things you were doing.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm just trying to like figure out how to do what I want to do. And so I wrote this arrangement, and you know, I had a few agendas. I wanted there to be a high G in the lead trumpet, and
Of course you did.
Yeah, it was just a silly arrangement. You know, I was just some corn-fed kid in Oklahoma who wanted to play some loud high notes, and but somewhere along the way, I you know, music got in there, and so when I was in college, I just started experimenting more and more, writing for big bands with really no instruction. I did have a mentor, somebody who was older than me, who had gone to the same college that I was going to, but he actually joined the Army Jazz Ambassadors. I think he just retired, actually. But he joined the Jazz Ambassadors to play saxophone and became their staff arranger over the years. But he was doing a lot of writing and knew way more than I did, and gave me a book called Inside the Score by Rayburn Wright. And Rayburn Wright was the head of the jazz program at the Eastman School of Music, and this book is interesting because what it does is it analyzes scores of Bob Brookmeyer, Sammy Nestico, and Thad Jones, and it kind of quantifies and defines techniques that they use, and you know, just their orchestrational techniques, and so it made a lot of sense out of things, and you know, to give me a guide on what to do, it was immediate. I didn't really understand harmony and melody yet, but you know, I also didn't understand orchestration, so at least I could get something working in my favor. And so the first few charts I wrote, I think they were referred to by members of the faculty as fish paper, meaning they needed to just be used to clean fish on. But I just kept going, and I kept going, and then by the time I got to my last year in college, I remember I'd written a tune, and I was starting to stretch out and try and find a way to fit like Coltrane's small group concept into a big band, and how do I orchestrate that, and how can I write tunes that kind of straddle the two areas. And I remember I wrote a tune, and my teacher, he said, now, you know, don't be surprised if when we play this at the competition that you don't get the response that you would normally get, because before that I was writing like these big showy tunes with like unison bebop solis, and
right.
You know, I was writing really showy. Now I was really trying to get to the music, and so anyway, I remember Matt Wilson was one of the judges at the festival, and his comment sheet, it was just had like a big like, yes, this is music. And so it's like, redemption, yes, okay.
Cool.
So I'm headed in the right direction. And then so after that, I actually applied to attend the Eastman School of Music after making a trip up there to perform at the International Trombone Association's annual convention. And so I sent some scores to them, and I ended up being the TA for the arranging program. And it didn't take long after I arrived for them to realize that I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I was achieving results, but I knew nothing. So here I was, the TA, and I was auditing the class that I was grading the assignments for. and so that was like the requirement. Not only are you the TA for the class, but you're taking the class too, mister, because you don't know anything.
Right.
And thankfully I did. And then my time at Eastman was really, you just like being assigned projects for different size ensembles and different styles, and being, kind of schooled in techniques, and it's almost like culinary school. Right. Because you're learning how to create recipes and tastes and flavors and mix them together to evoke something out of your audience, to make them think it's 1940s, or to make them think that it's 1950s, or it's cool school, or whatever. So, you get your palette set up, and you know where things are, and then you get out, and you still don't know anything. And, so I don't think I really started the thing about writing, especially writing for the big band, because you're writing for a longer form. And so when you start writing for a longer form, and you're thinking about how much more you can say, then you're really writing a screenplay, or you're taking the listener on a journey, and you're responsible for so much more of that journey. So I don't know. Yeah, I look for opportunities to do that because I really enjoy it. And I think the first person that I started writing for in New York, wow, it hasn't even been that long. I work with the George G. Orchestra, and so I think I wrote a few charts early on for the vocalist, the male vocalist in the band, John Dokes. I wrote some stuff for him early on, and then I started feeling like I needed to press a little harder to find opportunities. And so one night, hanging out with Roy Hargrove at Smalls, I just said, I want to write for your big band. I'd love to write for your big band. And he said, After the Morning. And I said, what? And he says, do you know the tune? John Hicks, After the Morning. I said, no, I don't know it, but I'll find it tomorrow. And so I looked up on iTunes. I looked up After the Morning and downloaded a couple of versions of it. I found one in my own CD collection. So I listened to all those and then transcribed the tune and wrote an arrangement and took it back to him like a week later. And I called him on the phone. And he says, meet me at Zinc Bar. I said, okay. So sitting at the bar at Zinc Bar, I pull out the score, and he's looking at it, and he goes, it's all there. Yeah, it's all there. So they were actually doing a bunch of touring to support their recent record with the big band. And they had a live performance on BGO, and he pulled that chart out and made the band read it on the radio that day. So I actually have a recording of it.
How cool is
that?
And
yeah, it was nice. And so then, when I delivered that one, I said, well, hey man, if there's anything else you want, we'll set you speaking on it. Isabel the Liberator. I was like, okay, let me write that down. Isabel the Liberator, got it. All right. So then that one was actually, that was a rough one to transcribe, and it's written by Larry Willis, and I really love Larry's tunes, and actually recorded one of them on one of my previous records, To Wisdom the Prize, and I got to work with Larry with Slide Hampton's World of Trombone, so I had been around Larry a little bit. So I transcribed this tune and wrote the arrangement, and I haven't heard anything about it in a while, and there's a group with which I'm associated up in the Rochester area, called the New Energy Jazz Orchestra. That's some colleagues of mine put together up there, and they asked if they could have some of the charts for their recording, and so Isabel the Liberator was one of them, and in producing the record, they had to get with Larry and get permission. And so Larry told him, he said, have Dave call me. And so I was like, okay. So I call him, and he said, man, I love the arrangement. And initially he had also told my colleague that there was one thing that he thought maybe I got wrong. And then by the time I talked to him, he realized, nah, he didn't get it wrong. He just changed it. And then so I said, well, yeah, I like the sound there. I like that sound, so I just put it in. And he goes, you know what? If I had to talk to everybody whose tunes I changed arrangements all these years, so
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So my writing career is basically I enjoy it. I enjoy the storytelling aspect of it. I enjoy the kind of sense, the culinary sense of creating spice,
right.
and then I also really enjoy writing for particular musicians and thinking about, I'm gonna wrap up a nice little present for you, and I'm gonna give it to you, and then I'm really gonna enjoy watching you play with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I'm giving you something to amuse yourself or share with the audience, whatever. And yeah, it's really rewarding. And now I get to write for what started as Roy and a little bit for George. I mean, after the last few years with George, we just put out a recording of all the stuff that I've been writing, and we could have made 2 records. I mean, we had to whittle it down to like 17 tunes.
Right.
So there's way more. I mean, we could do another record tomorrow. So, I've been trying to keep that band live, and it's a great group of people. So it's fun. And that group is 6 horns. So, writing for 6 horns is very different than writing for a full big band. So what's happened is I've learned a whole bunch writing for 6 horns about creating different colors. So my palette's actually more refined. So when I write for a big band now, I can use smaller groups within the larger group and feel comfortable with that.
Right.
And then, so I guess I write for a lot of different types or, sizes of ensemble, because the vocalist Marianne Sullivan now has her own big band, and but that group is 8 horns, and so then there's the Captain Black big band that Orrin Evans has, and we have 2 versions of that band, one which is full big band, and then the other is 6 horns, but it's 2 trumpets, 2 bones, and alto and tenor saxophone.
Right.
And George's band is 6 horns, but it's 2 trumpets, 1 trombone, and then alto, tenor, bari. I actually really like writing for that size group. But yeah, so man, I'm really excited to go to the gig and bring a new chart for the Cats, and so they keep letting me do it. I'm going to keep doing it.
And aside from the writing and arranging, you actually have an interesting relationship. You have a trumpet player in the family.
A trumpet player in the family, yes. Well, I'd say that I'm in her family. She's the trumpet player, so that means she's playing lead. Yeah, my wife, Kiku Collins, is a wonderful musician and person. And, yeah, we're enjoying ourselves. We get to work together sometimes, too. And that's always very enjoyable, at least for us. I don't know if maybe we're a little much for the folks around us. We have a tendency to volley our quick wit back and forth, and usually, I think it's pretty amusing.
You bring the band in on the relationship. That's great.
Yeah. Well, look, man, we're the same everywhere we go. It's just about having a good time.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, we really enjoyed your music today, and we appreciate you being our featured CD release artist of the week. That's David Gibson. You can catch him on jazzbone.org and check out his new release. And he is playing with several bands in the city and doing a lot of great arranging. David, thank you so much for being on the show, and hope to have you back.
David, thank you for your interest in the music, and I'd like to thank all the musicians on the record, Josh, Theo, Claffy, and Kush, and also Mark Free and Nick O'Toole from Positone. And, also just all the people who helped to make this stuff happen, and the musical partners like George G. and Josh Evans and Orrin Evans. And, so we're having a good time here. Hopefully it's coming out in the music. And please buy a copy of Boom. Please. Positone thanks you.
Very good. Okay, and that's David Gibson. All right, we'll be back with more Music Biz Radio right after this.
Facebook Follies is next. I hope that you haven't posted anything ridiculous or crazy. We may just use it now. Jam of the Week is a jam session video submission group on Facebook. It was started by Farnell Newton and has many followers and submissions. There is one in particular that stands out as quite peculiar. It is the Bolto. Bolto has its own unique style and presentation. Here is a listen. This just goes to show you that if you practice, you just may be perfectly imperfect. Welcome back to Music Biz Radio. Here is your host, David Richards.
That is going to do it for today's show. It was a special one. I'd really like to thank our guest, especially Arturo Sandoval, for making an appearance on the show, and we really enjoyed what he had to say. Also, John Jennings from Royer Labs, and also David Gibson, our CD release featured artist of the week, and we really enjoyed his music. Please join us every week right here on Music Biz Radio.
Thank you for listening to this week's show. We hope that you enjoyed the program and will join us every week. For information on being a guest or just to contact us, please email us at trumpetdr@gmail.com. This now concludes our transmission.